Yo, what is up, everybody? It's your boy Soda here, Auto Windbags, back with another one. All right, well, that was a game. The bad guys lose to the Cincinnati Bengals on the last game before the bye week. Bengals 41, your Oakland, Los Angeles, Oakland, Las Vegas Raiders 24. Okay, well, we're going to start. And we got a lot to cover because there's a lot to talk about. Um, First, let's start with this because we are running a channel here. If you have not yet liked, commented, and subscribed, please do so. Also, go ahead and share, right? Go ahead and share when you're watching the show, especially when it's live. Put it on your socials. Maybe a Raider friend or somebody who likes football wants to watch. It'll really help us out. We're not we have memberships open for you guys, but we're not demanding that you do it. So this is a way that you can help out without becoming a member, is to share uh, our our content on your socials. Just get the word out there, get the people talking. All right, you gotta excuse me, I've been a little sick. Plus, I was screaming a lot last night. I had two fighters fight at an event. It was a pretty cool little event over at the Hawaiian Gardens Casino. It was a small little venue, but it was a nice venue. Had two guys fight, kind of a tale of two fights. We had one guy that was, aggressive, had a lot of heart, but just didn't really listen. You know, lost his composure, and he lost by decision. And we had another fighter who was in the last fight, the main event, who listened, stayed stayed poised, still aggressive, won by unanimous decision. Imagine that. You listen to your coaching and you perform better. Um, so I'm going to try my best, considering my considering my voice isn't the greatest right now. Uh, RJ is on a plane back from Abu Dhabi right now. He worked the event yesterday for the UFC. I think that's where he was. I don't know. Wherever he was, that's where he is. But he's not here today. Um, rough game today, guys. Rough game today. Offensive struggles again. We scored a garbage time touchdown, but without that garbage time touchdown, the Raiders didn't score, really anything on offense in the second half. They scored 10 points in the first three possessions, and that was about it. We have again good script, nice script, move the ball down the field, but not much after that. And it's the same old story over and over again. And I understand that Minshew got benched, with after the majority of the third quarter, probably like about maybe 4 to 6 minutes left, something like that, in the third quarter for Ritter. Ritter had a small package of plays, so I understand it wasn't our full complement of plays, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we should pare down the playbook. Maybe we should keep things a little bit more simple. Maybe we should run the same plays but out of different formations so they don't all look the same. And Ritter showed some flashes. That last touchdown pass. It looked good. It showed what he can do. He has a live arm. He's mobile. He's a little bit taller and probably see over the line a little bit easier. He's got a little bit more pocket presence. We didn't do a very good job of protecting him. He took 4 sacks. I don't know that any of those sacks were his fault. They were pretty quick and pretty easy beats. And we'll talk about more of that later, just kind of giving an overview right now. The defense was not good. The defense could not stop Joe Burrow. I think our linebackers looked lost. They looked lost in coverage. The tight ends and running back 8 Like, I mean, Gesicki 5 for 102 touchdowns. That's a tight end. Running back 5 for 37 and a touchdown receiving. That's a running back. Okay. Drew Sample 4 receptions and a touchdown. Tanner Hudson 2 receptions. I mean, the tight ends and the running backs who are normally covered uh, by the linebackers, especially the way they were being targeted over the middle, they were feasting all day on our linebackers. I don't know what the plan was. I don't know what was going on, but whatever plan that Patrick Graham had to cover these tight ends and linebackers, especially on the box extended between the hash marks, was not good. Um, the middle of the field was wide open for these guys to pretty much feast all day, and not a lot going on the outside. I mean, Jamar Chase had 7 catches, but 43 yards. I mean, he had 11 targets, 7 catches, 40. That's a pretty bad game by Jamar Chase. The outside was fine. It's just the linebackers didn't do a very good job. Sometimes it was the safeties. They were a little bit trailing behind, and Omer got beat on a couple by Gesicki, but it was a tough game defensively for us. Even worse than that. Chase Brown, I don't know who the hell that is, but Chase Brown comes in and rushes the ball 27 times for 120 yards. Our lines were getting manhandled. We were getting just brutalized. I noticed this. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but our defensive line, I believe, spent too much time focusing on the offensive lineman who was blocking them and not enough time looking into the backfield to see where the ball was. There was many times where they were getting blocked and the running back ran right by him and they had no clue that the ball was right next to him. I was always taught engage and find the ball. Engage, find the ball. I think they were just too busy fighting and not concentrating as much on their assignment. That's coaching. That's focus, right? That's football IQ. And these are some common themes that are going to happen throughout this game. Coaching, football IQ, and awareness is very low on this team. And I think we can all agree on that. And playing hard can only get you so far because playing hard is a baseline. Playing hard is a fundamental thing. All good teams and most bad teams play hard. Guys, even on bad teams, guys want to play hard because they want to put good tape out there for themselves, right? I mean, that's they're not married to these teams past their contracts, and they want to have contracts and they want to have a career. They want to put good game on tape. So playing hard we shouldn't applaud a team for playing hard. We shouldn't applaud a team for not quitting. Just like we shouldn't applaud a coach for getting his players to play hard. It's what they're supposed to do. What else do you bring to the table? That's the issue. And that's the issue right now we're having with our play. That's an issue we're having with our scheme. That's an issue we're having with our game plans. That's an issue we're having with our execution. That's an issue we're having with our coaching. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's a tough watch. I try to stay as engaged as I can, but I mean, watching this Raider team play, it's a tough watch because these guys, they're not coached very well, and you can tell. You can tell right away. There's some glaring deficiencies talent-wise at certain positions. I'm not going to give these guys a pass because of the offensive line injuries that they had, because they weren't doing much better when they were all in. So no passes given here. Okay. Our offensive line got completely manhandled. Our defensive line got completely manhandled. We got this no-name Chase Brown running for 120 yards today. On top of that, he caught 5 balls for a touchdown and 37 yards. 157 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. That's crazy for a backup running back. It's not a simple fix here, guys. It's not, because it goes deeper than the talent on the team. It goes to what they're being taught and how they're being taught to play. And it's not working. It's not working. It's not effective. So that's my opening rant. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the beginning of the game. I thought it showed some promise that we were using the short passes um, initially. I thought it showed a little bit of awareness and a little bit of flexibility finally with both AP and Getsy to allow for more of an aerial attack early in the game, and it worked. And then we got away from it and tried to start running the ball, and then we got behind. I mean, ultimately, we only ran the ball 21 times, and 2 of those were from our quarterbacks. We only ran the ball with our running backs 19 times. That's that's pretty tough. We didn't run a lot of plays. We had a lot of 3 and outs. And to show you how bad that is, the Bengals were the second worst team in the league on forcing 3 and outs. I believe when they forced us on a 3 and out in the 3rd quarter, that was only their 12th 3 and out of the season. And we got 3 and out very, quite a few times in the second half. Because of that, we didn't have a lot of plays. Because of the fact that we were allowing the Bengals to pretty much score on almost every single opportunity. They were driving the ball, and they moved the ball pretty efficiently. We didn't have a lot of chances. We didn't have a lot of plays. So when you don't force 3 and outs, when you're not very good on 3rd downs, and you're not forcing any turnovers, you really limit the amount of opportunities your offense has to score points. And then on top of that, when you can't protect your quarterback and you're putting yourself in bad positions, yeah, it's going to be a tough day. It's going to be a tough day for you. Look, go ahead and vent here. Say whatever you want to say. I know there's some guys in Raiders media who will yell at you guys and get pissed off for you guys wanting to talk about certain things. I don't have any taboos. What I don't like, is the "I told you so" game. Because nobody comes on here and says when they're wrong. And nobody has any receipts when they're right. People want to come in here and say, "Oh, I told you so about this," or "How do you guys feel about this now?" or whatever. Save it. Save it. It's just, it falls flat. If you want to say it, if you want to look like a turd, go ahead. I'm not gonna, mute you guys or whatever. But that's the closest thing that'll get you muted and get you banned, is if you start playing the "I told you so" game. Because it's just pointless. You want to vent? Let's do it. You want to call for people's jobs? Fine. Go ahead. I'm not what's his name, right? That bans people from his YouTube. That's not me. Okay. I'm not tied to any type of corporate sponsorship or any type of, you know, employment by a team here. You can say whatever you want. And those who know, you know who I'm talking about. Because I think that's absolute dog shit for somebody in the media who claims to be about the fans, and claims to be a safe haven for you to express your frustrations, your thoughts, to cut you guys off on things and to chastise you and to call you guys names. I think that's ridiculous. I think that guy needs to grow up. I think that guy needs to put his big boy pants on. All right. I thought initially, especially initially early in the game, I thought Jackson Powers Johnson made a huge difference at center. I don't think we go back to Andre James. I think Jackson Powers Johnson is the guy to stick with. He's definitely has he's just more brutish. He's just stronger. He's just more physical than Andre James. Andre James is more of a cerebral type of center. He doesn't anchor very well. He's mobile, but I mean, I think Jackson Powers Johnson is just as mobile, a lot younger, a lot stronger, a lot more violent. And that's what we need, somebody who can anchor the offensive line. I didn't see any blown blocking assignments. I saw guys blowing blocks. I didn't see any assignments being blown. So he's managing the offensive line and they're blocking just fine. So I think he's going to be installed and entrenched in our center position moving forward. I think that we've all felt that Andre James was an interesting follow-up to Hudson, but it just didn't work out. And we've needed an upgrade for quite a few years now. And I think Jackson Powers Johnson is it. Excuse me. We lost 3 offensive linemen today, which is tough. We were relying on Andres Pete to get in there, which is double tough. They did not very good. And you combine an offensive line that is kind of being patched together with a lot of injuries. You lose your left tackle, you lose your left guard, you lose your right guard for a little bit. I mean, we lost both guards and we lost multiple tackles. We were onto our third string tackle, left tackle, and it's tough. It's tough to have any type of continuity when you get a bunch of patchwork guys in there. Thayer Mumford, I don't think Thayer Mumford should be playing tackle. I think he should be playing guard. He was exposed. Now, look, Hendricks he's an elite pass rusher. This dude in like a season and a half has like 24 or 28 sacks or something like that. Dude has like 11 sacks this year. This dude's amazing. So it's not like he was getting beat by some fucking bum or a chump, right? But he was getting beat, and he was getting beat handily. So I don't know. I think it would be interesting this year and moving forward, depending on the health of Miller, to have like maybe a Miller, Mumford, JPJ, Parham, Glaze offensive line. I think Meredith played well. I think Whitehair played okay. I think he did have some issues on the move, laterally on run plays. I think he had some issues like getting to the point and sustaining. It takes a lot to have your feet moving and block effectively moving side to side, moving sideways. When you have a play where you have to reach somebody, a lot of guys can block when they're going straight ahead, can get their hands on a guy and push them back. But can you push a guy back when you're moving sideways? When you have to get a guy's angle, when you have to get a guy's shoulder and push him back, can you do that? I thought Whitehair struggled with that today. Jackson Powers Johnson, on the other hand, grabs the guys and just flattens them. That's what we need. And I think Munford is big enough and physical enough to be able to do that without having to deal with an elite pass rusher on the outside and have to play in all that space. I don't think he works very well in space. What else we got here? One thing that excuse me, we've seen this with previous quarterbacks, with our 2 quarterbacks this season, with our quarterbacks last season, even the longtime quarterback that we've had in the past. Pocket presence is huge when it comes to quarterback play. And we saw today the difference that pocket presence can make. You have Gardner Minshew covering up the ball and running into sacks when he still has a pocket. Whereas you have Joe Burrow, who still keeps his eyes down the field, even though he's been hit and sacked a lot, looking to make a play. The pocket presence is huge. When I say that a quarterback is the biggest eraser on your team, they can erase a lot of mistakes. They can cover up a lot of warts. And poor offensive line play and maybe a bad execution, a quarterback with his pocket presence and mobility within the pocket and ability to be accurate under duress is a huge way that he can elevate the offensive line play and even elevate the play calls by an offensive coordinator if they don't initially look like they're going to succeed. They end up succeeding because of a great individual play by the quarterback. We saw that multiple times with Joe Burrow. We almost had him sacked. We had him moving around, but he was still able to keep his composure and make the plays down the field. And you see that with the big ones. You see that with whoever's a top quarterback in your mind. If you think it's Mahomes, if you think it's Herbert, if you think it's Josh Allen, if you think it's Stafford, or you think whoever you think it is, Purdy, those guys can make plays under duress from the pocket or just outside of the pocket and make a bad play a good play. Whereas quarterbacks that struggle often make bad plays catastrophes by their decisions and playmaking. Uh, I honestly think with the bye coming up and then playing at Miami after that, who's a completely different team. Miami's a completely different team with Tua there. They lost on a last second, like 61-yard field goal to Buffalo, which was a great game. I wish I would have watched that game instead of this nonsense. But they're a completely different team now that they have Tua back. Offensively, they're much better because of the offense being better and more efficient. It helps their defense out as well. That was one of the issues that we had previously in previous seasons. We were looking at the defense being so poor. The offense was just as poor, turning the ball over, 3 and out, stuff like that, not sustaining drives. But yeah, I think Minshew is cooked. I think that's the last start he makes. I mean, barring any injury, I think he's done. That handoff on that kind of a jet sweep end around type thing to DJ Turner, the handoff was way too high on his chest, bounced off of his shoulder pads on his chest. Got to put that in his gut. It was a bad execution. DJ Turner, fall on the damn ball. Don't try to pick it up. Don't try to make a play when it's not there. So it was a poor play on both that led to the turnover. A couple plays later, the Bengals blow it wide open. It was still a 2-score game at that point in the third quarter. And after that turnover, that was it. It's too many turnovers, too many mistakes. I think Minshew knew he was on a short leash. The offense was doing nothing. The offense was going nowhere. It was time for the Raiders to move on and to see you signed Ritter for a reason. He showed something that you think, okay, well, maybe we can work with this. Well, you don't know if you don't play him. The guy that you have in there, you've scored 10 points up to that point. Your offense wasn't moving the ball. The offense was stagnant again. He's running into sacks, shows bad awareness, looks lost. And then he turns the ball over again. It's time. He looks like a defeated man. He's been benched twice now for 2 different quarterbacks. I really do think this is the end for Minshew with us, barring injury, like I said. I think Ritter showed some promise. I think with a little bit of time, with a little bit of a better protection, and maybe a different circumstance where he's not obviously going to pass the majority of the time, where the defense can pin their ears back. I think he could have a much better showing. Hopefully, this next week and during the bye week, and then on the prep week for Miami, he can get some good work, and they can expand the package that Ritter has to play from, and we'll see from there. I thought that he did a couple of good plays, a couple of good checkdowns. He mucked the play, he mucked the ball a couple times. Hey, this is a bad play. I'm gonna spike it into the ground. I'm not even gonna fuck with it. And those are smart plays. When the play's not there, just drop it into the ground and play the next play. Don't make a bad play worse. And that's what Minshew's been doing for quite a long time. Our offensive line, man. Again, I'm not going to give them too much of a pass because they weren't doing much better when it was the full complement. It's a pretty rough day today. All right, that's the offense. That's my opinion on the offense today. There's other things too, but ultimately, is there much more to talk about offensively? Not much, I don't think. Let's talk about the defense for a second. Um, Getting handled in the run game. Our interior defense, and they weren't running out wide. They were just pounding the ball up the middle because our defensive tackles just weren't getting it done. I think Adam Butler is a really good sub package defensive tackle. I think he's an excellent pass rusher from a defensive tackle position. His mindset is not there to be a run stuffer, to be an every down defensive tackle. And I think because of that, John Jenkins gets exposed a little bit for maybe being a little bit less mobile. I saw him reach for a lot of arm tackles today, and that shows me that he recognizes the play. He just can't get there in time because when you're a defensive tackle, the running back's on you like that. He's on you right away. So if you don't react and can move that quickly, it's just not going to work out for you. Let's see here. Yeah, Jenkins had 3 tackles. He had a half a sack. Nothing crazy. Trevon Merrick had a nice game, but he had a nice game because they were passing a lot to the tight ends and to the running backs, and he was covering the tight end a lot of the times that he had his tackles. 13 tackles, 8 solo, half a sack. Isaiah Polomau again, another safety because they're eating us alive with the tight ends. 7 tackles, 4 solo, 1 pass defense. Robert Spillane, 7 tackles, 1 solo, 1 tackle for loss. A lot of tackles, a lot of tackles being done by our secondary and by the linebackers, and that shows you how deep these plays were going into our defense. The most tackles by a lineman was Jonah Laulu. He had 4 tackles, and yeah, that's tough. When your leading tackler as a lineman only has 4, and he's a backup. He didn't start to play really until Butler came out of the game. Now the Butler went back in, but he was being cycled out a little bit more frequently after he was nicked up a little bit. But we got to take a look at that, at the fact that the majority of our tackles were being done in our secondary, or by our linebackers, and it wasn't because they were going downhill and tackling behind the line. We only had total 2 tackles for loss. I just not getting it done, man. Whereas the Bengals had 7 tackles for loss. Trey Hendrickson, he was killing it today, killing it. There were opportunities for us to really change this game early when it was still very close. Although we did get that interception by Jack Jones, and that shows again, Jack Jones identified the formation, identified the down and distance, so the tendency was there. He jumped the route. He knew exactly what was coming, and very similar to what happened against the Chargers last season in the blowout win. Jack Jones was able to use film study to get him some to get some points on the board for us defensively with the pick 6. It wasn't a bad play by the Bengals. It was a bad block by the receiver and a good play. I think it was just more so a really good play, a really heady play by Jack Jones, identifying the situation and the formation and linking together the probabilities from film study. So that's a good job by the coaching staff and a good job by Jack Jones to get him that information. But there was 2 other opportunities for us to get interceptions. Maxx Crosby tipped the pass by Joe Burrow, went straight up in the air. And as Joe Burrow was trying to tackle Maxx to keep him from catching the ball, Laulu was tracking the ball to catch it, and he trips over Joe Burrow, and the ball hits off his fingertips. Got to be able to get that. That would have really changed the game at that point. Also, you had a pass breakup. The ball goes up in the air again, tipped a couple of times by Maxx Crosby, not being able to be intercepted. That's another one. These are things that happen when you're around the ball, but just creating those opportunities uh, still have to be completed. They still have to be uh, taken advantage of, and unfortunately, we didn't. We had three big opportunities for game-changing plays, and one of them came through. The good teams, they take advantage of your mistakes. We weren't able to take advantage of those mistakes. The drop by Jamar Chase, we were still only down two, and then we turned the ball over. It's tough, man. It's tough defensively. We didn't play a very good game at all. We saw some better tackling in the secondary, but we also saw some really poor tackling, allowing Jamar Chase to split the defenders towards the sideline on one of the touchdown drives following our turnover. Gets the ball within the 10-yard line. The next play, they score a touchdown. I think it was to Gesicki. And that was Merrick and Bennett were on Chase they had him cornered, and he was able to split him to get a first down. That's a tough play, man. It's a tough play when you need to make a stop, and it just shows that it's not all playing hard. It's also technique, and it's also coaching. Pretty tough there. There's a penalty when we still had a chance to kind of maybe make it close. It was going to be tough. There was about 6 minutes left in the game, and forced to punt. And for whatever reason, we're jumping off sides on a punt, and give the Bengals new life, give them a first down. That's just inexcusable, man. Again, I talked about it before. Poor situational awareness, poor focus, poor play, poor coaching. It's kind of all bunched together. The coaches need to tell the punt team on third down, hey guys, if we get out there, don't be jumpy, stay focused, stay disciplined. But these guys are just trying to go out there and make a superhuman play and block a punt. And it would have been great if it happened, but ultimately, you're doing too much. You're trying too hard to do something. Just do your own job. Take care of your own assignment. And these plays that were being made by the Bengals, they weren't superhuman plays here. It was just most of the time, I believe, it was our players not executing properly, not executing their assignment properly, that allowed the Bengals to make the plays that they were making. Coaching wise, I mean, what else can I say? It's a lot of Getsy again. Initially, we had a nice script. We were able to score twice on our first three possessions. Score was tied 10-10. And then after that, it just fell apart. We weren't able to move the ball. Became very predictable. We weren't able to anticipate adjustments by the defense. And then we're just doing the same things over and over again. And then the defense adjusted, and we didn't adjust to the defense's adjustments. Pretty rough, man. And what's going on in this chat? Who is this guy? Why do you still do this post-game show, dog? You suck. Where's your show? Where are your gold medals? Soto don't know any football whatsoever, hated Gruden, and thought Carr was the problem. Well, yeah, he's 2-7 with the Saints. He was supposed to be their savior. Guy has zero football IQ and shouldn't even be allowed to talk about the Raiders anymore. Well, nobody allows me to do anything. I do what I want, and you're allowed to have an opinion. So do what you want. I'll do what I want. Let's see. RJ carried this show, but looks like Soto can't have debates without crying and insulting RJ. Wow, bro. I think this might be RJ. Because if you think that RJ doesn't insult me back, you are absolutely 100% mongoloid retarded. If you actually think that it's only going one way. I'll give you some time. I'll give you your 5 minutes of fame right now on my channel. But my dude, no, you're not my dude. You're an idiot, is what you are, and you're allowed to be an idiot. I'm giving you the ability to it's your choice. But my God, dude, is he a Yankees fan? He probably is. He's probably a Liberty fan too. Probably loves the WNBA, and he probably loves women's USA women's soccer too. He's one of those guys. They them motherfuckers. So look, a lot of issues coaching wise. The issues that we're having here coaching wise, one of the main ones is we just don't have any discipline. We're not disciplined whatsoever. And it shows up in our line play most egregiously. You can see it all mostly in the line play. The technique by our offensive linemen getting blown off the ball, getting blown off of blocks. We're not using angles. We're not using leverage properly. Now, Jackson Powers Johnson is just a beast. He's a brute. I think he has good technique. The technique that's being shown by our offensive line is not good. Mumford being blown off the ball a bunch of times is really tough. We hadn't seen that from Mumford. We hadn't seen that from him in the past, but he was just getting absolutely used. On top of that, our defensive line is staying engaged onto blocks far too long. They're not shedding blocks very well. They're not aware of where the ball is. They're allowing ball carriers to run right by them and having to have the linebackers and the secondary make tackles. We have some nobody running back running for 120 something yards against us. It's just ridiculous. Some interesting coaching issues. So if a team is driving at the end of a half, now this is a stat that came up in the game. I know you guys saw it. At the end of the first half, the Raiders have been outscored. Was it 46-6 in the last 2 minutes of the first half? Let me show you why that's an issue with coaching. When a team is driving against you at the end of a half, you want your defense to stop them, right? But you also want to give yourself a chance. Once they're driving in your territory, you got to start using your timeouts or else you're just going to let this team milk the clock and use their time that they want to use to score. So what happened? We didn't use any timeouts. The Bengals scored with 30 seconds left. We weren't able to have enough time to properly use a drive to put points on the board. Now we were very close. We were almost there, but unfortunately we couldn't do it. So you use those timeouts. You use 2 timeouts instead of saving them for after the score. Each one is, about 25 seconds. Let's say 20 seconds. So you're getting 40 more seconds on the clock. So you have a minute and change to get into field goal range as opposed to 30 seconds. It's a lot easier to do it that way because you want the time and not the timeouts because there's other ways you can stop the clock. Run out of bounds, incomplete pass, you spike the ball. There's different ways you can stop the clock if you don't have the timeouts. You can't put more time on the clock just because you have timeouts. So that's something that we see over and over again with AP is his inability to use his timeouts uh, strategically. And he allowed the Bengals to drive down the field and leave very little clock for us to score, and it allowed them to double up because they got the ball back again to start the second half. It puts your team at a very big disadvantage, and it's happening over and over again. And I pull that solely on the shoulders of Antonio Pierce because his clock management is not good at all. It's pretty bad, and it shows up very big on those plays. I didn't like the play. You had 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4, and you're running a sweep play, like almost like a reverse. I don't know. I don't know if I like that play very much. It ends up into a turnover. I'm not saying that it's Getsy's fault that we turned the ball over. That's Minshew giving a bad handoff, but I don't like the play call. I think it was a little out of place. I think it was absolute malpractice on Getsy's part to not give Mumford more help on Hendrickson. He saw how bad he was getting beat, and he left him out there on an island. And you got to put a tight end next to him. You got to put somebody next to him who's able to help chip or do a block and release. But it's not fair to Desmond Ridder, who is kind of exposed, right? Because they're down by so much. They're going to pass the ball. And you're letting Trey Hendrickson just go out there and abuse Mumford play after play after play. And after a while, you have to identify, hey, you know what? Should Mumford go out there and be able to at least have a stalemate against Hendrickson? Yeah, but that's not happening. You have to identify that, and you have to call plays that's going to give him the ability to protect himself. And ultimately, Getsy didn't allow Ridder to protect himself with those formations and those play calls. That's a very big, offensive coordinator malpractice right there. You have to be able to help your quarterback out a little bit. I understand you can't plan for everything, but that's a pretty easy plan to kind of make it a little bit more difficult for Hendrickson. We talked about a lot, man. Ultimately, more of the same. Penalties, bad line play, bad quarterback play by Minshew, some promising play by Ridder when he was giving him the opportunity and given time. It's tough, man. It's tough when you're looking at a team that has no shot to win. And I don't think this coaching staff is giving us a chance to win. Because of that, I think players are taking things into their own hands, and it's causing us to expose ourselves a little bit. Think about like a fighter that's down in a fight. He's going to start throwing haymakers. Well, he leaves himself open. He leaves himself exposed. And a lot of times those fighters that go for knockouts, they get knocked out themselves because they're not fighting smart. They're fighting a little bit too aggressively, leaving a lot more openings. And that's what we did today. We left a lot of openings for the Bengals to go ahead and expose. And they put up 41 points against us without their numbers 2 and 3 wide receivers, without their starting left tackle. And they still manhandle us up front. A lot to fix, man. It's a lot to fix. Let's see what you guys got going on over here. Let's see. Sam the man, thanks for the comment. It's RJ's burner account. It might be. That was funny. McBud, where's your subscription, McBud? What happened? I thought you were the first subscriber. PG coach scared. I think he did. I don't think his defensive line allowed him much success. I think that too often a ball carrier was allowed to push deep into our defense, and made it way too easy to gain positive yardage. Our defensive line didn't do a very good job. Let's see here. Let's see. Jeremiah Rose. I'll dream for Ben Johnson plus Cam Ward. Better than living in this Raiders nightmare. So, guys, let's address this really quick. Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, what is so different between now and let's say 5 years ago? 2019 season, the 2020 season. Not much. We're still not making the playoffs. We're still losing games we should lose, right? Or losing games that we maybe could have won. It's just maybe we're winning more games than now. We're winning more, but still not enough to make the playoffs. Still not enough for us to be a perennial playoff contender. We're in a better position now than we were if we were an 8-win, 9-win team every season. The quarterback play was better then. It was. But ultimately, it wasn't good enough to make us a perennial playoff team. So, I don't want us to be too down because we're in a better position now than we were then. Because I think we do have some pieces on this team, and we do have the ability to get better with a few tweaks. Maybe those tweaks are coaching, maybe those tweaks are personnel, maybe it's both. But purgatory isn't losing. Purgatory isn't being a bad team. We know we're a bad team. We know we have a bad quarterback. We know what we need to do. Purgatory is thinking what you have is enough and every season being shown that it isn't, and continually throwing out the same roster, the same team, trying to make it be enough when all the evidence is showing you that it's not. This needs to happen a lot of times. It needs to happen. We need to be hit in the face with something where, hey, you know what? This isn't working. Here are the glaring issues that need to be addressed. And then address them. I felt that we were put in a very bad situation by Josh McDaniels pretty much vetoing the trade to get up to number 2 for CJ Stroud. That was pretty rough, man. That was pretty rough. And that's been confirmed that happened. The trade was already in place. He said, no, I want to go with Jimmy G. All right. Well, you all saw how that happened. Last season, kind of a weird thing. Maybe it could turn out to be a good thing. Who knows what Michael Penix Jr. is going to be? But it seems like if we get one of the top 3 guys, they seem to be a little bit better equipped than Penix. In college, at least. I think Penix was, helped out by 3 draft pick wide receivers and an excellent offensive coach. But we'll see what he's like when he gets a chance to play. But Kirk Cousins is doing fairly well for himself there. But ultimately, we need to realize where we are right now. So this is not purgatory. I think we all agree that we're a bad team, that we're a bad team playing poorly. If we're a bad team playing good, we can win some games. But a bad team playing poorly, it's not going to happen. Who else got here? Oh my God. This guy. Marcus Howard, you are the epitome. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. You know why? Because you know what you are. Look, could we have won more games if we kept Carr? No, I'm not jumping on Carr. You guys are bringing this up, and it's a big, it's on the chat. Could we have won more games? Yes. Could we have won enough games to make the playoffs consistently? No, because he's shown you that he gave you a decade, showing you that it wasn't it. The last 2 years, his teams are not good. He played against a lot of bad teams down the stretch last season with nothing to gain. and he put up a lot of stats. Ultimately, he got beat by a guy that was benched for being too shitty on one of the worst teams in the league. He got beat today because of that. He's getting his guys almost there, getting their heads taken off. So moving on from that, and this is and I bring up this point and I address it directly because this is something that I don't think RJ really wrapped his head around. Identifying who the guy is just as important as identifying who the guy isn't. When you identify that a guy isn't because he's been given a lot of different coaches, different situations, different teammates, different systems, different schemes, and by and large, except for one season, they just haven't been good enough. So if you want to hang on and you want to just look, if you want you want a girlfriend like Marcus Howard with that mentality, who's only going to look at your good traits and not look at the bad. And even though all the evidence tells you one thing, he's going to still look at the good things. Yes, he's a better quarterback. Yes, he puts up bigger stats. Yes, he has a better arm than the quarterbacks we have on the team now. But we still weren't winning enough with him. He's not winning enough now with another team. So if you want to go ahead and go do that, that's fine. But you're starting to play the I told you so game. And we're not doing that. Okay? You are entitled to your own opinion, Mr. Marcus Howard. And again, I'm giving you the chance to have your little 10 minutes of fame here just to show you how foolish you're being. If you want to look back, go ahead and go online and you can look at all the games you want from 2014 to 2022. You can look at all those games. You can watch every single game of number 4. All the games you want. And you can even download them and clip them and all the good plays so you can just beat off all over your freaking keyboard. But ultimately, it wasn't good enough. Plain and simple. Now, talking about this team needs to focus on improving in a few different areas. We need to figure out the offensive line. We need to figure out the defensive line. In the need to figure out the offensive line, we got to find guys that are willing to be aggressive and physical while being technically sound. On the defensive line, we need to have our principles down. I don't think we have that right now. I think especially internally, these guys are just wrestling and not finding the ball. And that's a big mistake. Coaching-wise, we need to pay more attention to our mistakes. Again, I said it last week and I was very upset about it. What are we doing with the information we're getting from our script? We're not using the same information. We're not using that information to help us later in the game. That's poor coaching. That's poor strategy. And it's basically a poor use of all this data that you're being given. Just like Getsy is doing a poor job and doing the same thing over and over again of having a script and, because the scripts work because you practice those plays almost exclusively the whole week. You practice your script, right? Once you get out of the script, it's more so on the play call and on the execution and the familiarity of the play to the team. The same mistakes being made over and over again. Script good, rest of the game bad. Another same mistake by AP is his time management. It's terrible. His game situations, it's terrible. It needs to get better. This is the reason why I believe AP probably will not be back next season. He needs to start showing some improvement in his coaching ability, because if he doesn't, it's no different than having a player that isn't showing improvement. You're giving him the opportunity You're giving him the playing time. He's making the same mistakes over and over again in the same situations. It's time to make a change. Now, can he still improve? Yeah, he had half the season to improve, but he also has a lot of mentors, a lot of people teaching him and guiding him and coaching him. Still very bad time management issues. And this team is not focused. They're not detail oriented. They need to clean up their play before we start talking about big changes. Because if another coach comes in, another quarterback comes in, another receiver, another running back, more offensive, if those guys come in and we're still not detail oriented, nothing's going to change. You need to be detail oriented in this game to be able to win. All right. I think that's pretty much it. Thank you guys very much. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and share. It just takes a click. Share it to your socials. If you have Twitter or X, if you have Instagram, Facebook, whatever, just share it. It'll help us out a lot. It takes a couple seconds, and I appreciate it if you guys do. Again, the bad guys lose to the Bengals 41-24. We're heading into our bye week next week. We're still going to have shows heading into our bye week. Normally, on a struggling team, the bye week is a week for change. Is it going to be Ritter? I wouldn't suspect now that it looks like Ritter's going to be placed into the starting quarterback role. I don't suspect there's going to be a change with the offensive coordinator because that's, I think, a little bit too much of a change. We saw what happened last season. But again, it's not unprecedented. We did it last season too, where we changed the quarterback and the offensive coordinator in the same week. So we'll see. Again, guys, thank you very much. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this on all your socials. Let the Raider fans know out there. Make sure to put the hashtags Raiders, Raider Nation, NFL, and the Autumn Windbags. All right, guys. All right. Sadly, until next time, everybody. Peace.